Good evening. Welcome this Tuesday for the Law and You program. Like I promised, this and every Tuesday, we'll be in your homes having a great discussion on issues that affect you on a day-to-day. This month, the last month of October, we had a series on employment. And I promised we'll do the series of employment for the month of October. And today it has been amazing. It has slipped to the month of November. And from the discussions, we have had a lot of questions. And I would like to go, before we move on to the next points that we want to tackle today, I would like us to recap on the few things that we had a discussion with our amazing advocate, Milka Kethenji, and for us to be able to discuss and maybe answer some of these questions. One of the questions that have been coming up is on the issue, you talked about termination, we talked about dismissal, we talked about redundancy, and people got confused. What's the difference? Which one is good? Which one is bad? On the issue of termination, a termination of a contract, the name sounds bad, but essentially what it means, a contract, an employment contract can come to an end because even you as an employee, you have decided to move on with your life. Or maybe you had a one-year contract and the end of the 1 year has come. That means at that point that the contract has been terminated either by time or by the lapse of the contract. Another one is the issue of dismissal. Dismissal, as it sounds, it's bad. Dismissal comes after a hearing. You have done a mistake, tumefanya disciplinary hearing, we have gone through the motions, and because of that, your employer has found you are not suitable for your job. And in terms of dismissals, there are different types. There's one where you're dismissed after a hearing has gone through. There's one where it's constructive. And constructive dismissal is very bad, especially for the employers. If an employee takes you to court because you have constructively dismissed that employee, the court is very harsh on your employer at that point. The reason is, when you talk about constructive dismissal, what does it mean? Whereby I've stopped paying your salary. I've come to the office today, you have taken my desk and my seat. I've come to the office today, umechukua kompyuta yangu, siwezi fanya kazi. Mimi labda ni driver. Katika hii kampuni kuna magari 10. So nimekuja siku ya leo, haujanipatia gari yote niendeshe. So what you are saying is, I've not chased you away, but I'll make life so difficult for you to resign on your own. And the law allows that you can go to court and cite constructive dismissal by your employer. That your employer is refusing to tell you go, but also at the same time is not giving you a conducive environment. So my advice to the employers in the house is, when you are tired with someone, follow the procedure. Can you cut ties with this person? The other one is summary dismissal. What is summary dismissal? Summary dismissal ni ile ya unafukuzwa on the spot. Although the law does not, the law still, you have to follow the procedure. But these are issues, for example, like you have come to the office drunk. Umelewa, unaanguka huko, unatukanana, kila mtu unapiga mdosi, unarusha vitabu, files zote, stock unachukua, unamwaga chini, that's a cause for summary dismissal. Another one is you have disappeared from work. We don't know where you are today. Haujapiga simu, you have not taken leave. You have the next week, we don't know where you are. The law finds that you can be summarily dismissed. And even if you are taken to court, this is another thing, and this is the reason why you need to be very disciplined, especially if you are employed by someone. Ukishikwa na uende uwekwe ndani, na koti ikataka kupatia bail for 2 weeks, the law allows the employer at that point to cite you that you have absconded duty, and he can replace you. So those are the 3 things that happens. That's why you can be dismissed because of a hearing. There's a disciplinary hearing, maybe of work performance that you have not been able to perform well. And because of that, you can be dismissed, or constructive dismissal or summary dismissal. The other issue was the issue of redundancy. Redundancy, this is a very sad situation for both the employer and the employee. Because what we are saying at this point is COVID has come. Maybe in the airline sector, there are no flights moving. I cannot pay you because you are not making money. It's not because for me as an employer, I want to fire you. does not mean you as an employee you want to leave the work. It's just that because your usefulness now I cannot sustain you. And not because of that redundancy. But the catch is, the courts have put a procedure that is based on Section 40 of the Employment Act, which we talked in detail. You need to ensure when you are declaring someone redundant, the procedure needs to have been followed. And as I promised last time, we'll be coming with case laws. Today, there was a case. This was a case in the year 2013. Kenya Airways. We know Kenya Airways is a public company. So Kenya Airways went and told 447 unionizable, wale wa union employees, you can leave work. But they did not follow the procedure. And this case went all the way to the Court of Appeal because the High Court had decided that Kenya Airways should return them to work for those years they have not been working and still pay them and continue with them. But they moved to the Court of Appeal. And at the Court of Appeal, the court said this. The court made a decision and made a finding like this. Yes, we find Kenya Airways was justified to stop, to declare the 447 employees redundant because they were making losses for the last 5+ years. But the challenge was their procedure. So yes, you don't have money to pay. There's no work to be done. You need to declare this employee redundant. But if you don't follow the procedure, the court still holds you accountable. And the court said out of the 447 employees, because of not following procedure, Kenya Airways was told to pay the employees 6 months salary, all of them. Those was a lot of money, public money, that was wasted because someone somewhere refused to follow procedure. Kenya Airways could be bailed out by the government. But I want to ask you in your business, do you want to declare your employees redundant and the court declares you pay them millions and millions of shillings? So that's a big issue, and that's what we talked about, procedure. Even if an employee has done a mistake, you need to fire them, follow the procedure. Unaweza niuliza wakili procedure sijui inatoka wapi. Please go find a lawyer. He will be able to advise you on that procedure. You can be able even to Google, for the people who can be able to Google what's the procedure, but a lawyer will help you. Sometimes Google is not your friend every time. A lawyer will be able to help you. The other thing we had talked about and we said we'll talk about today is on the issue of discrimination. I told you the Employment Act deals with employment, deals with sacking of employees, deals with leave days and non-leave days. But the Constitution of Kenya, which is the mother law to all of them, and Article 27(4), I was almost saying the Bible says, but the Constitution of Kenya and Article 27(4) says, the state shall not discriminate directly or indirectly against any person on any ground, including race, if you are black or white, sex, pregnancy, marital status, health status, ethnic or social origin, color, age, disability, religion, conscience, belief, culture, dress, language, or birth. Then 27(5) says, a person shall not discriminate directly or indirectly against another person on any of the grounds specified or contemplated in Clause 4. Ladies and gentlemen, in the next few minutes, I want to quote to you case laws of people who are commanded by the courts to pay a lot of millions because they discriminated people for one reason or the other. And I'll start with age. Once upon a time, there are some cases I'll mention names, the others I'll not mention names because of confidentiality of people, but these are reported, they are all reported cases. Once upon a time, Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, this is in the year 2013, they advertised for a position of the managing director. And they say the people who are supposed to apply for these positions are people who are 45 years and above. So one of the people who wanted for the position, and they were not 45 years of age, went to court and said they have been discriminated because they are less than 45 years. The case was listened, and the court made a decision in 2015 And this is what the court said. It declares that including a must-meet condition of being below age 45 years to be suitable for the office of the managing director was and remains a violation of the right against discrimination on age, contrary to Article 27(4) of the Constitution of Kenya. Declares that to the extent that the recruitment of the current holder, that's the managing director ambaye alikuwa amepata, the said recruitment is null and void. So KBC had to go back, advertise again for the position of the MD. Why? They discriminated someone on the issue of age. The other issue is on disability. I've come with two cases, very nice cases here. One was one of the person was a police officer, and this was the year 2013. Yes, he was a police officer. He was employed as a police officer, working very nicely in the police service. Because I think when he was on duty, his eyes started having problems. Went to hospital, was declared his eyes had problems. He requested for a transfer, and even the doctor said, "Can you look for a place whereby it does not need to look like maybe a radio control or something?" But the boss then decided, no, I will dismiss you on grounds of health. That means you are discriminating this employee on health issues. Finally, the court declared this, that the respondent terminated the claimant's employment prematurely and in violation of Section 22 of the Persons with Disabilities Act, and an award of 3 million being compensation for premature termination of services and discrimination on ground of disability. The government of Kenya was told to pay this police officer 3 million because of discrimination. Another case similar to that, the respondent to pay the claimant 1.5 million for compensation on account of constitutional rights violations and all those articles, and the issue was on the issue of disability and Section 10(5). This was someone that macho yake ilikuwa na shida, akaitisha screen protector ya computer. They refused to give her, and because of that, she could not be able to work, and she was fired because of that reason. What are we saying, being the employers? You need to give your employees conducive working facilities or working spaces. Another one is on the issue of religion. The year 2013 again, I think this is the 2013 watu walikuwa wanaenda kotini sana. So someone tells Kenya Forest Services, tell someone you have to work on Saturdays. Huyu alikuwa wa SDA. Because of that, they come, they decide, no, me, I cannot work on Saturdays. And they go to school, they go to court. The court finally declared that the demotion letter was improper, unlawful, wrongful, and oppressive. That the declaration of the decision by the respondent not to accord and afford the claimant the right to observe his Sabbath day from Friday sunset to Saturday sunset, and to compel him to attend training on Saturday was unconstitutional, improper, and unlawful, as it contravened the claimant's freedom of religion and belief under Article 32 of the Constitution. All those actions were declared unconstitutional. Why? You cannot force someone to do things on his day of worship. You cannot force someone to do things that his religion does not agree with while he was working for you. That is on religion and other things. We have just touched on age, disability, religion. There are other areas of discrimination. Another one is on HIV. This one is a very prominent university, I will not mention. But if you want, you can just go. This is a 2010 case, very recent case. So she had worked for 7 years, faithful. And out of here, the employer one day discovered that this lady was HIV positive. And the employer decided to terminate her services. Yes, you cannot work on these days, you're becoming sick, or you're doing medical, blah, 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 and all those things. And it reaches a point, she goes to court. And the court, this is what it says, and this is the reason I want to now to read for you. Having considered all these matters and the failure by the respondent to confront his despicable conduct by avoiding to bring the actual perpetrators before court to explain themselves, the court awards damages in the sum of Kenya shillings 5 million to the claimant. Why? Because you should not fire anyone because she's HIV or is HIV positive. That will be discrimination on status of health. Finally, the total award was 6,971,000 because there was unpaid maternity leave, there was overtime, there was gross compensation, the 12 months, and then now there was a difference that from 2003 to 2007, the same level she was working, our colleagues were earning more than her. So the court gave her that difference. So what are we saying? Do not discriminate anyone on any ground. And finally, the issue of pregnancy. Most people, most employees, and that's the truth of the matter. And I said one of these days we need to discuss this. Your employee gets pregnant. And the fact of the matter, pregnancy is not an easy 9 months, especially there are some, the last 3 months, or maybe the last 3 months is very hard, difficult, they are tired, there are some jobs they cannot do. And because of that, most employers and companies are in business. They want to make money. And there's this employee who is not productive enough. So what do most people do? Most people keep quiet, wait for you finish. When you go for maternity leaves, there are some even who will fire you before even reaching maternity leave. The moment they notice you're pregnant. Others, they wait for you for maternity leave. Some do not pay you during maternity. They tell you, ukirudi kazi, tutaanza kukulipa. Kwa sababu unalipo ile umefanya. One thing unastahili kujua, even if you employ me today, and I go for my maternity in November, you need to pay me fully. The moment you employed me. Employment and maternity, unlike these other leave days, for you to qualify for the 21 leave days, you need to have worked for me for more than a year. But on the issue of pregnancy, is the moment you hired me today, the next day, you need to give me my leave and my maternity money and everything. So on this one, most people, I say, others will pay you on your maternity leave, you come back to work. And because you have a small child, that means every other day, nataka kupeleka mtoto clinic. Nimechelewa alikuwa na breastfeed. Mtoto alikuwa na fever. Sikuweza kukuja kazi. Because of that, most employers feel, I'm wasting my time and you're not being productive. So they'll look for a mistake in the first 2, 3, 4, 5 months and chase you away. Now, these are good news to the people who have been chased outside there because of pregnancy for the last 3 years. Because employment matters, that's another thing. You have 3 months window period. If within 3 months, before you file court, if they lapse, hiyo unasahau, inakunywa maji hivyo. From the day muliachana na your employer, ama when that thing was done. So on this one, these are 2011 matter. GMV, a claimant and one famous bank, I will not mention. But these are all reported cases. They fired her. Went to court. The first thing the court declared that the termination of the services of the respondent on basis of her pregnancy are discriminatory, unfair, unlawful, and in violation of the Employment Act, the Contract of Employment, and the Constitution of Kenya. The respondent shall pay to the claimant coercive damages at 3 million because of firing someone who has just come from maternity. The respondent shall pay to the claimant salary in lieu of notice and 3 days worked in March. The respondent shall pay to the claim a total of 4.4 million. That's what the court said. The court has given people 2 million, 1 million, 3 million, 5 million, depending on the issue of discrimination. Because discrimination, we are saying you are being unfair to this person. Why discrimination? And why is the court very tough on you when it comes to discrimination? You may find even you've been paying your employee 10,000 shillings or 20,000, but the court will tell you pay them 2 million. Because the issue of discrimination is not about the class or the level of employment. It's that you are discriminating something on their, you are depriving them of a constitutional right. And constitutional rights are not suggestions. Everyone, kila mtu lazima utii katiba ya Kenya ambayo ilipitishwa na wewe, kama ulipiga yes ama no. All of us pass that constitution, and we are bound by that constitution. And that's the reason why. So do not discriminate someone on the issues of disability, HIV, pregnancies, age, race, and everything. Because what we are saying is that if you are employed, you only need to be fired based on your performance, not based on how you look, not based if you are pregnant or not. We're not, because one of these cases, if you read one of these cases, one of the problem is that this lady got pregnant this year and the following year. So they were like, "Ay, hapana, hii maternity leave zimekuwa mingi sana." So that's not your place. That's not your place to decide if I want to get children every year or any other year. That's not your place. Another thing, we talked about house helps. And this is a very wonderful case here, and I like it because maybe these are, unlike these others I was mentioning, these will take a little time. One, she was employed as a house help at 8,000. This is a case for 2014. This one was employed as a house help. Alikuwa analipo 8,000 shillings. 8,000 shillings. Please note that, because it will be important at some point, because we talked about minimum wage. This was in 1998. Then in the year later, in 2010, it was increased to 10,000. Then in 2012, akafutwa kazi. So she went to court, and this is what she asked the court for. 3 months in lieu of notice, 30,000. Years pending leave, kwa sababu hakuwa anaenda leave. 14 years traveling allowance, 12 months salary for unfair termination. Sundays, alikuwa afanya kazi kila Sunday. So 672 Sundays at double the time. Because you remember what we said, every week worked, out of 6 days, msi anastahili na leave siku moja yake. And it's not a suggestion, it's a law. 140 public holidays. Public holiday, siku ya mashujaa na jamhuri de watu wasai kufanya kazi. 14 years overtime. Kwa sababu is a house girl, munaamuka na yeye, anaamuka kwa kazi, anashinda kwa kazi, usiku ukiona TV ya kwa kazi, akienda kulala, analala hata kazi. So, alihesabiwa overtime. Because alihesabiwa alikuwa na work 14 hours in a day. And then, so she was asking for 2.7 million. 2.7 million. Wakaendelea na kesi. Court mwisho ikasema hivi. Remember, she asked for 2.7 million. Mtu ulikuwa unalipa 10,000. Ask for 10,000. Court ilimpatia 1 month in lieu of notice at 10,000. 14 years pending and untaken leave. That's the reason why we say it's very important for you to give people leave. There are 21 days every year at 140,000 shillings. Salary at 10 times 12 months, 120 for 12 months for unfair termination. We told you anytime you terminate someone's services unfairly, unapigo penalty at 12 months. 667 Sundays at double the time, which comes at 1 million. 140 public holidays at double the time, which comes at 220,000. Kwa sababu kumbuka kuna mchana ile asai kufanya kazi na ile overtime alikuwa anafanya. 14 years overtime not paid, 944,000. 14 years overtime worked but not paid, 220,000. Total cost of the claim was 2.7 million that this house help was given. I know most people ask, but mimi anendanga leave or anendanga off. Do you have the proof? And the truth of the matter, because you live with someone, there is no proof ati ukienda off sign hapa. And that is what we meant the first time. have a written contract. When your house help comes, sit her down, muandikiane. Kila Sunday utakuwa unaenda off. Ama hata ukitaka Monday. Because the Lord does not say it's our master Sunday. It can be any day. You can decide your off day is a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, or Saturday. One. Then utakuwa unaenda 21 days leave days. Lakini kwa sababu hii kazi tunafanyanga utakuwa unachukua 7 days April, 7 days August na 7 days December. Ili hiyo wiki moja nijue vile nitajipanga. Overtime. Watu watauliza kama mtu ako kwa nyumba, kwani itafika 8 hours? Because the working time ya mtu ni 8 hours. Mtu anauliza kwani ni ukifika 8 hours unaacha? Hapana. Ongeeni. Unaweza ambia hata mtu amka asubuhi, fanya kazi yako paka saa 4, pumzika, fanya hivi, ama nikikuja jioni tutasaidiana kazi. It's something, ama umwambie ni sawa mshahara yako ni, but kwa sababu kuna 2-3 hours extra unafanyanga kazi, nitakuongezea mshahara hiyo siku. You have to agree together, but have it in writing. Because the moment you don't have it in writing, means whatever she says in court is a gospel truth. People have also asked, how long does labor matters take in court? It can take 1 day, can take 10 years, can take 2 years. The challenge we are having today, and we pray God for more judges, for more magistrates, the clog is there. So it's a backlog. But normally, cases are supposed to be concluded within 1 year, 2 years maximum. But because of dates and ziko mingi inakuwa shida. Mwingine ameuliza what is the cost? The cost most of the time for filing cases is not a lot of money. 2,000, 10,000, 20,000 depends. But the biggest cost is on the issue with the advocate. But when you go and talk with your advocate, you can enter into an agreement. Maybe utamlipa mkimaliza kesi, mkipata pesa. I think when you meet any advocate, he will be able to guide you. The cost should not be a problem, because whenever you take someone to court, the court will give you the cost of the suit when and whenever you win it. The other question was on working hours. I think I've answered that. That is 8 hours every day, and it's not supposed to be 8 to 5. It can be even 5 to 11 usiku, but as long as 8 hours. You can even save the first 4 hours, take a break of 4 hours, come again at 4 hours. But it's supposed to be 8 hours in a day. The other interesting question someone asked is, can an employer sue? Because hii yote ilikuwa employee issues. Tajiri wako, mdosi anaweza kusue? Yes. Most of the time, if you have a contract that says give 6 months notice, or if you do not give 6 months in notice, you pay me 6 months. The same way as an employer will give you notice pay, 1 month or 6 months. For example, you're earning 100,000, and then you have not given me my 6 months. That's 600,000. I will remove it from you. I will even sue you to get my 600. Or maybe you're in a job that says, when you leave this place, you cannot work on the same field for the next 1 year. Although that's a challenge, the courts have given different rulings on that, because you cannot stop someone's lives going on, but there are some depending on which jobs. So that depends on each case on its own. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I hope the series on employment has been wonderful. We cannot finish. It's a deep and deep one. But there are a lot of questions. People have been asking, can we talk on other topics? And the answer is yes. This month of November and December, we'll be doing the family series. We'll be doing the family series. The family will be talking about marriage. What are the types of marriage? There's customary, Christian, AG. What are the processes? We'll guide you on the processes that you need to follow for you to be legally married in Kenya. We'll be talking about children. What's the rights of the children? What are their privileges? What are their responsibilities? And then we'll be talking a difficult topic that we don't like talking in church, on the issue of divorce. Yes, God hates divorce, but the law allows divorce. We'll also be talking on the procedures and what is required when you're doing that. We'll also be talking, maybe when you have separated, you have children, you want the father or the mother to support these children. We'll be talking about maintenance. We'll be talking about custody. Who goes with the children and at what age? We'll be doing like what you have done on employment. We'll do a series of BF panelists here, different panelists, wonderful panelists who deal on these things. We'll be dealing even on children, on custody, on adoption. Is it possible? What's the legal way of doing all this? We'll be doing also on the issue of succession. God forbid, when someone passes on, what happens? What happens to the children? What happens to this property? Did he have a will? Did he die intestate without a will? And people ask, I'm a director in a company. If I die, does that, my shares in this company, do they go to be part of the family estate? All those things we'll be dealing this November and December, every Tuesday at 8 p.m. The Law and You. I've been Kenneth Mbaabu, advocate at Kinyua Mbaabu and Company Advocates, Muthaiga Square. Thank you, and may God bless you.